Hello, everyone, and welcome to Developing Palates. I am Aaron Loomis, and with me, as always, is Jiunn Liu. How you doing, Jiunn?
Good. Sitting at the exact same place for the next 3 videos.
That's right. Trying to knock out a bunch of videos in one night to get this thing wrapped up. So today we are talking about the Baracoa The Voyage Robusto, and this is a true Robusto, so 5 inches by 50 ring gauge, and this comes out of the La Aurora factory in the Dominican Republic. Wrapper is 2011 Dominican Corojo. Binder is Ecuador, and the filler is Nicaragua and Dominican Republic. The cigar was blended by Danny Santana and Manuel Linoa, and the price point on this is $10, and this was just released at the IPCPR this year, so July of 2016. So with that said, let's get into our pre-light experience. So Jiunn, kind of take us through what your pre-light experience was like.
This is you said 2011 Dominican
Corojo. Yeah.
I personally like Corojo wrappers. I don't have a lot of experience smoking Dominican Corojo wrappers. It's mainly Nicaraguan and
or Honduran.
Or Honduran. So I was excited to see what this was all about. But at any rate, the actual look of the cigar had a nice medium brown Corojo wrapper. The veins were not really well pressed. I had one vein running through the entire cigar that just kind of protruded out of it. Seems pretty tight, fairly invisible. Head was finished off with only a single cap, but it was a thicker single cap, so I didn't have any problem with cutting it with my guillotine. I felt like the cigar was well bunched and rolled, and it had a uniform and even give to it. In terms of the pre-light aromas, the wrapper aroma, I got barnyard, just like construction paper, and cedar. On the foot, I got some sweet natural tobacco, hay, cedar, and white pepper. On the cold draw, I got some nice tongue-numbing white pepper, some dry cardboard, and cedar. So overall, it's not the prettiest of presentations out there, but it's not the worst, and it's not the best.
Right.
So.
Yeah, the wrapper was medium brown, some slightly darker colored veins. There were a couple of medium-sized veins, and there was like a series of smaller ones that were like crisscrossing all over the wrapper. And it was hard for me to tell how many caps it had because it was so smooth, and it was with the dark color, it was just really hard to see. But if you say it's one, I'll take your word for it.
No, I hear you. It was hard for me to stop. I kept turning the cigar.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm pretty sure there's only one.
It was well applied. I mean, obviously, so it was really hard to tell. So the band on this cigar is pretty large. It takes up about a quarter of the cigar. But I think the band looks fantastic. I mean, it's got like a map in the background, and then the name is up front in red. And there's like black and silver accents that look really nice. So the band, man, it looks pretty nice. Aroma from the wrapper was faint barnyard, and the foot gave like a fairly sweet grassy note. And pre-light draw kind of gave me that same sweet grassy note, but there was a really significant spicy tingle on my lips and the tip of my tongue on that pre-light draw. I don't know if you got that same.
No, I did too.
But yeah, so and that was
the kind of part where I felt like I was like, oh man, like this is that Dominican stuff, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, typically, if I'm gonna get spice, I'll get it usually like on my lips, a little bit, maybe like 5 seconds after I kind of take the cigar away from my lips. But this one was like, boom, it was there, and it was even on the tip of my tongue, so you felt it coming at you. So
for sure.
So getting into flavor, first third through final third, what was your experience like?
On the first third, the cigar started out with namely a dry red pepper and hay. So kind of the second tier notes, I got some light bread, medium light body sweet cream. On the retrohale, I got a very intense amount of nose stinging dry red pepper and cedar. And on the finish was pretty short. And I had some lingering fake notes of cedar and airy light bread. So body and strength within the first third was just a solid medium. Now moving on to the second third, I felt like the second third is kind of where the cigar kind of perhaps woke up from his sleep, and the flavors kind of started ramping up. So now the sweet cream has moved from a medium light body to a medium body. So, more of a pronounced sweet creaminess. The dry red pepper is also intensified, and it was sitting on the rear palate towards the back of my throat, but not irritating my throat. Mm-hmm. There's still the notes of the airy bread and hay. I got a new note of dry cardboard, which I find interesting because that's typically what I always get doing the cold draw. But right. I actually tasted that through the mouth. The retrohale is still a really intense and fierce nose stinging dry red pepper and cedar. The finish was still short with airy bread, sliced cedar, and dry red pepper spice. Towards the middle of the second third, the strength became moved from a medium to medium full, and then the body maintained the medium throughout the entire second third. Mm-hmm. Moving on to the final third, it pretty much mimicked the second third. Still got the dried red pepper, medium sweet body cream, airy bread, dry cardboard, hay. Through the retro, still that same intense dry red chili and cedar. Dry red pepper, sorry, not chili. The finish is still short with an airy bread, faint cedar, and dry red pepper. Strengthened body, being medium full and medium. So all in all, first third kind of felt like the notes are really light, especially for something like Dominican Corojo, which I kind of expected to a certain extent, smack me in the face.
Right.
But the second and last third is kind of where I felt like the cigar is more in line with kind of what I expected and building of flavors and intensity. Mm-hmm. What about you?
Yeah, initial draws were like a fairly spicy cedar for me. A quarter inch in, the spice settled down some, and then a few draws further in, the cedar transformed into a light general woodiness, along with some cream and some mustiness. The retrohale was carrying that same light woodiness, but there was like a medium full black pepper that was going along with it. And then at an inch in, some sweetness was present in the mouth and on the retrohale, which was fairly interesting to me because I don't typically get a lot of sweetness in cigars. The black pepper was on the finish in the mouth, and it was kind of sitting on my tongue, just kind of reminding me that it was there. And a little further in, the creaminess increased to be the primary flavor, and then the woodiness, the mustiness, and the black pepper were in the background. And then near the end of the third, the woodiness and the black pepper increased to better mix with that cream. There was still a hint of mustiness that was in there. And the strength in this first third was just a little bit above medium. And then getting into the second third, the woodiness and the mustiness ramped up while the cream and the black pepper kind of moved to the background. And then a quarter inch in, the same profile was holding on, but the retrohale had a little bit of a fuller black pepper that kept a zing going through my nose. Half inch in, creaminess gets back on the level with the woodiness and the mustiness, and then just the black pepper was in the background. And then 3/4 of an inch in, the creaminess kind of fell back again, leaving the woodiness and the mustiness up front. An inch in, some char came into the mix with the woodiness, and that kind of drowned out the other flavors that were there. And then nearing the end of the third, the char went away and some minerality came in to mix with the wood and the cream. And the mustiness and the pepper had pretty much gone away at that point. And the retrohale was also woody and had a little bit of minerality to it. And the strength had ramped up to medium full in this third. Final third, it began with the creaminess returning to the mixture with the woodiness and the minerality. The minerality left, and it was just kind of present on the retrohale with the wood at that point. Half an inch in, a slight char returned to the woodiness, and then 3/4 of an inch in, the profile of the slightly charred wood and the cream kind of came back. The retrohale is really woody with a slight minerality to it. And as the cigar wrapped up, the char left and it was just kind of woody and creamy at that point. And the retrohale, the minerality went away, and it was just also that same woody and creamy note. So it's kind of same in the mouthfeel and the retrohale. And the strength kind of dropped down a little bit, and then it was kind of just slightly above medium. So kind of that that middle third is kind of where the strength really jumped up for me. So getting into performance, burn and draw, what was your experience like?
I thought the burn was good. The burn line was fairly sharp. The ashes held on a little loose, but it never flaked off. So, that's the most important part in my opinion. Average ash marks yielded about an inch. I got about 110 minutes of smoking time, which is typically what I get out of a Robusto. So, all good in that sense. The draw, I thought the draw was a little loose, but it was still good. I mean, yes, I noticed that every time I drew on it that the cigar was a bit loose, but the cigar never heated up. Still got a really cool burn out of it, and it wasn't a major issue. So, construction overall, good construction.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, the burn was razor sharp for the first half of the cigar. And then getting into the second half of the second third, the cigar went out on me. And then after relighting it, I kind of fought it a couple of times where it seemed like it wanted to kind of go back out on me again. And the burn would kind of get off maybe a half inch or so at different points, but it would always catch up on itself. I didn't have to touch it up or anything like that. And then I was getting, I was getting those 1 inch ash lengths as well. Draw was just slightly tighter than I prefer, but nothing that really affected the experience. So it was very, a very good draw for me. So I had kind of, the opposite side of it is what you did of having that loose draw. So overall experience, what was yours with this cigar?
I thought the cigar was an average kind of run of the mill cigar. My favorite part was the second third, in which I felt like it kind of, bounced off the flavors of the first third, but more in a fuller, distinctive manner. But in general, I kind of found the cigar's flavors to be a bit faint for me, especially knowing that it's Corojo wrapped cigar.
Right.
And especially knowing that it's, also with being produced at La Aurora, a lot of La Aurora stuff has definitely a strength and pepper kick for me. It wasn't. It's not fair for me to associate what La Aurora is doing to what Danny's doing with this cigar, but
right.
But in general, just especially given the Dominican Corojo aspect of it, I expected fuller flavors. I expected at the same rate fuller body, but it didn't quite deliver that. But I still think it's worth smoking. I mean, it's not something that you should put as a part of your, I don't know, shitty Ziploc bag or something.
Right.
But it's, of all the releases that comes out, especially knowing that, there's so many, like, for instance, Connecticut broadleaves and Ecuador Connecticut's out there. I mean, this is a nice, refreshing one with, going to Dominican Republic and with the Corojo goodness. So
yeah, the flavors that the cigar presented were pretty good. I mean, it took like an inch or so before things kind of balanced out. It was kind of just like flavors shooting off different directions for me for that first inch or so. But once they did, the profile was, going pretty well. I mean, I had some of those burn issues towards the second half of the cigar, and that kind of put a damper on things as things went along. I would probably recommend this cigar to a more experienced smoker due to the strength levels. But if you're okay with medium to slightly above medium, this should still kind of fit in that profile. And I would say it's probably more of a midday to an evening cigar, just based on that and kind of the flavor profile. But I could definitely see revisiting this, hoping that I got a little better burn performance. Sound like your burn was okay. So, as long as that's the possibility there, I think it's definitely something that's worth revisiting. So getting to the scores, you gave the cigar a 5 flat, and I gave it a 6.20. How do you think the score matched up with your experience?
After I smoked it, I thought, this is a average cigar, and my score exactly reflects that, which I'm good by, and it's you and I both talked about this offline, but like we really appreciate what Danny does, and with Save the Leaf and all that stuff. But he's a great guy. He's a really cool dude to talk to. But with his cigar, I just felt like it was just, like I said, a run-of-the-mill average cigar for me.
Right. Yeah, my score 6.2 I think reflects my experience. I mean, it was there were some good flavors. It was just a little bit out of balance at the beginning, and then with a little bit of burn issues, kind of in the second half of the cigar, that kind of kind of put a damper on things for me of kind of what I was hoping for. But this is a brand new release. Maybe a little more humidor time, and things settle down a little bit. Things become a little bit more balanced, and then scores can kind of go up from there. So I'm definitely interested in trying this thing again with a few more months on it, and just kind of seeing how it progresses to see if if it kind of bumps up in a little bit in its performance. So, any final thoughts on this cigar?
I know you bring up a good point. I mean, you know what? With so many of these show samples we get, we try our best to give the proper humidor time. At the same rate, I also think, well, you shouldn't release a cigar unless if it's ready. But different climate changes of going super dry in hot Vegas to what, in my opinion, one of the best places to smoke cigars in Northern California.
Right.
It does matter. But you got a good point in revisiting this after giving it a few more aging months.
Yep. Well, thanks for watching. If you're just catching this video on YouTube, be sure to check out the full written review on the website, developingpalates.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube. You'll get notified anytime we post a recap video or any other one of our videos. And be sure to follow us on all the social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google+. We're on all of them, so you can kind of keep an eye on what we're doing through those channels as well. Thanks again for watching this, and we will catch you on the next one.